What is up, Switch Force community? Happy Monday and welcome to a new week. We're kicking things off with another news roundup, 3 stories that you might find interesting on this happy new day. I'm Zach, I've got Gabe here, and the first story is an interesting image that Platinum Games tweeted out. They put out a picture of Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2, but it's not about the character herself, it's about what's behind the character. You've got a blue background behind the Bayonetta 2 version of the champion character and a red background behind the Bayonetta 1 version of the fan favorite, and this led to people speculating something pretty interesting. Could these colors be in reference to the original Neon Joy-Con pairing available with the Switch console? And someone, in fact, tweeted them that idea, and Platinum Games liked the tweet. So now people all over the internet are wondering, is a Bayonetta 1 plus Bayonetta 2 double pack coming to Switch?
Which we've speculated on a little bit. We've mentioned that that would be really cool. It would gauge interest for a hypothetical Bayonetta 3. I think if this is what it is, it would be really cool. The blue and the red aren't exactly the Neon Joy-Con colors. Of course, if they had made it the exact color, then that would be like darn near an announcement. Instead of this, maybe this is just a little tease. I feel like I think it is what it means. I think that it is going to come to Switch. I think it's being worked on.
That would be a fantastic addition to the Switch lineup. It would fill a nice genre gap, and I think those games would look phenomenal and play awesome on that Switch screen portably.
Recently, Reggie said that there was more unannounced games coming to Switch. This could easily be one of them.
Oh, yeah. And, Platinum did talk about, Camille was talking about, or maybe it was someone else from Platinum, but talking about, ideas for a Bayonetta 3. So clearly, they are still workshopping this series, and we'll have to see if any more official announcements come out from Platinum, but that would be a huge get for the system and for us fans. The second story, Gabe, is about the SNES Classic and its total amount of gameplay hours for only $80.
Yes, I do want to credit the user on Reddit, by the way. User Morrowind Forever on Reddit compiled this list, and what he did is he went to the very well-known website, howlongtobeat.com. That averages how long it takes you, or it takes most people to beat a game, and it's actually pretty accurate. I've used that site for years. I find it to be really, really spot on. And so they went through every game in the SNES Classic library, and they said exactly how long it takes to beat them.
And there's a bunch of titles, so we'll throw the list of all the game-by-game specific hours onto the screen right now.
In total, though, the most important thing here, 169.5 hours of gameplay with the SNES Classic. That is a lot of hours.
That is a bunch of hours. And obviously, people aren't going to, A through Z start to finish every single game, but it just gives you a sense of, some people were worried about the amount of games on here, the increase in price with decrease in titles, but I think it totally works out, especially with the inclusion of some of those longer RPGs. You really are packing a lot of content into this little box.
Yeah, and, 169 hours for what, $80 is what the SNES Classic costs, correct?
Yes.
It evens out, right? Because a standard game these days, like a multiplayer game, and obviously this isn't multiplayer, but people spend 100 hours on, typically I would say, the normal user. There are hardcore people that, in some cases, like Destiny, for instance, they play 1,000 hours and yes, they get their $60 worth. But for $80, you're getting a very cool collector's item that also happens to, be very nostalgic, and you get close to 170 hours of gameplay. And like you said, you're not going to play all of these games. Maybe not all of these games interest you, but if you're really into Secret of Mana or Earthbound, you could easily play more than the amount of time I said, just because you're trying to do everything in the game. This is just what it takes to finish it, and the way that people regularly play it. This isn't a completionist.
Right, it's not going for all the collectibles, it's not going for, secrets, it's not going for anything. It's just the average, story/mainline playthrough is approximately these hours.
Yeah, so I think the value is there. Pretty good value. Yes, it's not 30 games like it was for the NES Classic, but a lot of hours of fun to be had here.
Absolutely, and people are having a lot of fun hours with their Switch, and Michael Pachter, famed analyst, on his podcast, talked a little bit about the Switch compared to the Xbox One in 2017. Now, these are just predictions, but he stated, I would say Switch could sell as many as 14 million units, and if that happens, then that's more than Xbox One. Xbox One is probably going to sell about 10 to 11 million. Again, Microsoft doesn't tell you, and there's no way to measure anymore, but I think Xbox One is on track to sell 10 to 11 million a year. Switch is going to do that 10 to 11 million and could sell sell more really depends on the holiday season. So this would be, I think, an insane talking point for Nintendo, and they're not going to directly ever come out and be like, hey, we beat Xbox One, but just from like a mind share, a fan perspective, not to incite any sort of console comparisons, but beating Xbox One in the first year, I think would be a pretty impressive resurgence for a company that trailed by large gaps with their last home console.
Yeah, for sure. And lifetime, it's going to be a little tougher, right?
For sure.
Because Xbox One has multiple iterations. They have Xbox One S. They have Xbox One X coming out. So, people are given a chance to like double dip or triple dip in Xbox One X's case. Switch, at least as far as we know, they don't do that. Like Nintendo hasn't.
Unless you're double dipping on household, you want to get one for yourself, for your significant other, for your brother, your sister, your kid.
Correct, but there's no like iterative Nintendo console. At least there hasn't been. I mean, I'm sure they could do one this generation if they wanted, maybe, but that doesn't seem to be in the cards.
Hashtag Switch Mini.
Hashtag Switch 4K. Yeah, no. We definitely get a Switch Mini before a 4K. But yeah, I think this was cool. And, Michael Pachter, he has a track record of being not always right, but he does get certain things right. He gets paid, his job is to analyze these things, and he does cover the video game industry in depth. So, there is some credence to the things he says. And I feel like the Switch outpacing Xbox for year one is a great thing.
Yeah, if that does happen, I think a lot of it will depend on how many units they can really procure by that holiday season. How much can they put on store shelves for Black Friday? How much can they put on store shelves for the Christmas shopping season? They have upped their production to around 18 million units, but will that be constrained by that parts shortage over there as they compete with Apple for all the bits and bobs they need to make this thing happen? It'll be interesting to see, but regardless, getting into double digits in the first year, I think just really encourages third-party confidence for 2018 and beyond.
Yeah, this is a win no matter how you look at it. There have been just reports of, Switch demand being like great, and it has outpaced their wildest expectations. We have retailers blaming Switch for them like not doing so great like financially. Saying, hey, our consumers want a Switch, but they can't get it. Like, make more of them type thing. So, this is a win for Nintendo regardless.
Bonus little fourth story there, Game UK talking about how their financial earnings have been drastically below expectations. Their stock fell 30% after the report, and they kind of took a little shot at Nintendo, saying like, hey, they need more supply. But it's a rough life out there, I guess, if you're a retailer trying to keep these things on store shelves. But whether they outsell Xbox One or not, like you said, it's a win. So those are your 3 news updates for the morning. Bayonetta 1+2 possibly coming to Switch. The SNES Classic packed with hours. And Michael Pachter predicting that the Switch could outsell the Xbox One this year. Let us know what you think of those 3 stories, the trifecta, in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you're pumped for another week of Switch love. And until next time, everybody, for myself and Gabe, thanks so much for watching. Switch Force out.